I'd watch my bank account every single month just go down and down and down. I was like, dude, this sucks. What can I do like super quickly to start like supplementing my income while I'm like making music? I basically like emptied out the rest of my like bank account. I needed the money, so I started DJing.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Highest Version Podcast. I'm your host, Randy Philivong, and on this podcast, we talk about falling in love with the process of getting better every day and becoming the highest version of ourselves. Today's guest is Brendan Lau, a.k.a. DJ Breadman, pew 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 pew, a.k.a. the magician on the turntables. No matter where he is, whether that's in a car, on a rooftop, in the kitchen, he is giving groove to the Boston area. Speaking of giving groove, that's the brand that he has built to redefine the DJs and the community. With over 14,000 subscribers on YouTube, he's continuing to expand his community, expand the good vibes and the great energy, and recently just had his own headline at a club in Han, which is a nightclub in Boston. So without further ado, let's welcome the high energy, bobby hair, Brendan Lau, DJ Breadman. What's up, man?
Oh, crazy. What's up, bro? Thank you for having me.
No, thank
the
you.
The bobby hair is crazy.
Because
It's true.
I like when I was like looking at the comments of all your giving groove sessions, everyone's like, I came here for the bobby hair. I love it.
Yeah. It's been a trending comment for some reason.
Does that mean you are not gonna change your hair anytime soon?
I always like entertain getting a buzz cut, but I think as of now I'll probably keep the hair.
Yeah.
The foreseeable future. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see.
I think when I met you, you didn't have this hair, right?
No, when I met you, I had hair similar to yours. I had like a high fade, and I was like combing it over to the side.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just grew it out during COVID. I just didn't get a haircut for a while, and then I was like, oh, I'll try the middle part, and the rest is history. So
yeah,
here we are. Maybe I'll change it back again, but I like have to get way less haircuts nowadays, which is nice. So yeah,
I can see
saving money.
Oh, true, dude. I like try to maintain my haircuts, and it's just like every 3 weeks. But I could just see the comments being like, R.I.P. to the hair. The hair's gone now.
I know. Because when I used to have the fade like yours, I think Asian hair is like, it sticks out a lot until it's heavy enough and then it pulls itself down. So I was getting like fades in college like every 2 weeks kind of thing. It was too much, bro. I was like spending way too much money on getting haircuts.
All right, man. Before we get into questions that I have for you, let's get into the Funko Pop of the episode, and that is Goku, specifically Goku Super Saiyan, who, if you don't know, is from the Dragon Ball Z series. And the reason why I picked Goku for this episode is because Goku's such a fun, optimistic guy, and he has so much high energy. And like, just obviously knowing you and then seeing your sets, like, you always have high energy. He's optimistic, but when he's driven on something, setting his goal on being stronger and all that, he's focused, he's grinding, and I feel like that's what you do. So I equate you to Goku in that sense.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
At first I was going to go with Trunks because of the bobby hair, but I was like, everyone's when I looked up his characteristics, Trunks is like, he's negative and like very serious, and I'm like, I feel like that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I appreciate it.
Of course.
I just need the hair to match now, right?
Yeah. That's your new haircut, yellow, blonde, and up like that. All right, man. So let's get into the questions. My first question that I have for you is, what significant events in your childhood do you remember that has shaped you who you are today?
I think first and foremost, now that I'm an adult and I'm able to like kind of look back at my childhood, I think I'm super thankful for my parents. I know that not everybody has a great relationship with their parents. And that's not beyond me, but I thought, especially when I was growing up, I think in general, I grew up in a pretty healthy household. I have an older brother, and it was just me and my bro, and my mom and my dad. But my parents were very like supportive of what I wanted to do and try. They never really like forced me to like, oh, you should be doctor, or oh, you should be lawyer, or you should do this and that. I think my mom was very like, well, given I'm like the second child, so I
Okay.
was like, there was like a little bit more leeway with me. But she was always very supportive of like me trying new things and failing at them as well. Because at first I was very interested in like photography and like journalism and things like that, and I kind of wanted to go down that route. And then she's like, "Oh, you should take a class on that or something." And I took a journalism class in high school. Hated it. That shit sucked. Sorry, Miss Barber. But like, oh, dude, that class was actually the worst. And I think through experiences like that, not having my parents like put this crazy pressure on me to like be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer or whatever like you stereotypically see, I think allowed me to be more like passionate about like what I was doing creatively, and then seeing all the possibilities that could come from that. I think my parents always saw that I was like passionate about music. And at the time, like photography was my first introduction into like the creative space and everything like that. So yeah, I guess like not like, I think I'm talking in circles now, but not one specific moment or like defining, experience growing up as a child, but really like being so fortunate and lucky enough to have parents who like allowed me to, I don't know, experience different things and try and test out things and fail forwards.
Yeah.
Was really cool. And yeah, I think I owe a lot of my success to like my parents' flexibility with me, and also my piano teacher. Yeah, yeah, she's dope, and I hated playing piano a lot, but I kept with it because I knew like it was good for me. And I wanted to do music, but I didn't want to do like classical piano at all. But I knew that it would help me like make music or do other musical things that I was interested in.
Yeah.
And she was always like very understanding of that. And like we still email like every now and then,
Aw.
which is nice. And like she invites us to like her recitals that she has with like her students now and things like that. So yeah, I think she played a large role in not making me like hate music or like hate piano. So yeah, Maya, if you're watching this, thank you.
Is that the typical
Yeah.
instrument that, for those who want to get into music, like should know before anything else?
Yeah, I think the piano is very like versatile in terms of just the way everything is laid out, and also your versatility to like, if you want to get into music production, play on like a MIDI keyboard, and like many different instruments can be triggered with a MIDI keyboard. So as long as you know like your basic scales and chords and things like that, being able to know your way around a piano is very, very useful. But I mean, a guitarist could say the same thing about like a fretboard, right? But I think just like for production, from a production standpoint, the MIDI keyboard is king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do see like in a sense like seeing a lot of like DJ sets and using that a lot, and like I could definitely understand how versatile and how, I mean, we're always going to hear those keys within songs. I mean, it's really cool to hear that your parents were very forward thinking of like, how, whatever you're passionate about in supporting that. You mentioned to me that this kind of sense of Asianness, that you are more in tune with it now. So what was it like before? When when you started to be in tune with it?
I mean, it wasn't crazy. It was just like, I mean, I grew up in like white suburbs,
Yeah.
and this is no, shade to anyone that I grew up with at all. I think it was just like a development of trying to like find yourself, as everyone does when they're like a teen and a preteen, right?
Yeah.
And like even into college too. But just like trying to find the right people to hang out with. And I think in high school I never really had like a friend group.
Oh, you were a floater.
But I was like, I guess to my recollection, I have no idea. It's been what, 10 years now?
Yeah.
Over 10 years. But I think I was well liked by many people. But I was just never like, I never like hung out with like the jocks or like the nerds or like the theater kids or whatever. And I think in high school I was like just trying to like I was just trying to like dive into like more of my creative side. So I wasn't really plugged into like that community either. So yeah, I think like it wasn't more so, let me backtrack. I don't know what I was saying. I think it wasn't like me, like it was me trying to assimilate with white people more so they would accept me and like not see me as a weird Asian guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I never really like brought food to like lunch, like small things like that where you like, you don't think twice about this in high school, but now you like look back on it, you're like, oh shit, like I probably didn't do that because I didn't want the white kids at school to think I was like a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
But just like shit like that, or just like, you know, like you act white, you know what I mean? Or just like you kind of like dress the way that they dress, but that's just like a natural progression of like trying to fit in, right? And just trying to be accepted in general, and like being a product of your environment. So that's not really like, oh, like I'm so ashamed to be Asian. It was just like, dude, I just want to fit in. You know? So I think that was really it. And then going into college, I was like, damn, there's so many Asian people here. Because I think in high school, I'm pretty sure the town that I grew up in is more Asian now.
Yeah.
But
were you one of how many Asians in your town?
In my grade,
not in your town. Great.
In my grade, there were like 10 of us.
Damn lucky.
Really?
I was like one of 4.
Where'd you grow
up?
In
the entire school. Ellington, Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
There's more cows than people in that town.
That'll do it too. Yeah, I think there were like 10, but there were like 6 or so like East Asians. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah.
But we had some Indians and like some Pakistani people. And
yeah.
Y'all count as Asians too, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just trying to be assimilating to white people. But again, yeah, college, I was like, yo, there's so many people here. Like, you're telling me I don't have to be hanging out with white people all the time?
Yeah.
That's kind of chill.
Yeah.
But I still had like a decent amount of white friends. Like, and absolutely nothing's wrong with that. I love those guys. And I lived with a lot of them too, throughout college.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like my main friend groups kind of switched from being like mostly white people to Asian people over time.
Yeah.
And again, just like being a product of your environment.
Yeah.
Having to feel like you have to, you can be more yourself because, I don't know, just other Asian people probably understand and have more similar experiences as you.
Yeah.
Being Asian, right?
Yeah.
So it's just easier in that way.
Yeah.
Same as probably how white people hang out with white people, whatever.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Either way, it doesn't matter. Either way,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So just like being closer to your culture, I guess, is a good thing. Yeah, just being proud of your heritage is important, I think.
Yeah. What's your ethnicity?
I'm Cantonese.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, my parents are from Hong Kong.
Okay, gotcha.
But I was born here.
Yeah.
And my Cantonese is shit, unfortunately.
I was gonna say like, because my partner, she's Cantonese as well.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I was like,
I'll try and strike up a conversation.
Okay.
I might not get far.
No, man, I think you put it in the best way possible. I feel like when I started the pod and started talking about my experiences, one of the things that have shaped me who I am is growing up in the white suburbs. And like you said, like there's no shade to it. I love my friends that, that I still stick with from high school. But I think you put it right. It's just like a product for your environment. There's nothing wrong with that. It was just like, this is what you're around. This is what you want to fit in with. And for me, though, like growing up, I felt like there was a hesitation in my dating life just because of, how I looked, especially not being East Asian. I'm also like Southeast Asian. So I'm like dark.
Where are your parents from?
They're from Laos.
Oh, you're fully Laos?
Yes, fully Laos. Yeah,
crazy. I feel like I don't meet a lot of Laos people.
Exactly, right? Huh. Yeah, I'm a rare breed. At least around this area.
Are.
Yeah. But
there's a lot of like Cambodian people.
Yeah.
In
Lowell. Yeah. I think there's more Lao people over there too.
Oh.
Yeah. So
interesting. Not
only was I a minority in, amongst my community, but also a minority Asian wise too. Mm-hmm. So I think that I just got so caught up in how my crushes and how they would describe like the guys that they like, and usually it's kind of like describing more on like my friends that were white, and I was like, oh damn, so what do you think of me, right? I did get the you're cute and all that stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm not at the I just felt like that was like a shit you have to say, what I mean? But I think those beauty standards really hesitated me from being confident in myself. And again, like that's just all in my head. But definitely when I was, asking people out and dating, like that would be something in my head before, I would even have the confidence to ask, my crush out. And I know when I went to UMass, like the Asian community and being in that, it definitely opened me to feel more free talking about like, strict parents and like the food I'm eating. Like, bro, like I love chicken feet for like dim sum.
Oh yeah.
And I can't say,
you know what the best part is? The palm.
Yeah, the middle. Yeah, where all the fat is. Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
But if I said that to like my friends, they'd be like, what the hell? That's but when I talk to like my Asian friends, they're like, oh yeah, no, for sure. I know some of my friends are like, yeah, don't that shit. But I'm like,
no, that's fair.
But yeah, no, I know there's a lot of things that have shaped me, and growing up in the white suburbs, and I don't regret it. But I do want to express how much of a hinder that was to my culture at the time. Even though I was connected with like going to the temple and like and stuff like that, but it still hindered me to really express more of my Asian culture.
You ever feel bad about complaining about like growing up privileged? In like a privileged environment?
That's a good question.
I do sometimes, and I'm like, damn, can I really be complaining about like, I wasn't able to like grow up in my true Asianness?
Yeah.
When like all things considered, I grew up in a pretty privileged environment.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Like I'm really lucky to have had that experience. I don't know. It's just I think every experience is like has its weight, but
yeah.
I don't know. Just sometimes it's a passing thought.
Yeah.
Like, am I being a bitch? Like, complaining about this?
For sure. Yeah. When you're like, oh, this is first world problems.
Yeah. Exactly. That's the phrase I was looking for.
Yeah. I feel like all the time I've been talking about this, I just sound like an Asian supremacist, but like it's not really the case at all. Shout out to like my white friends that are listening, like, cause I love you guys and what you do for me and all that stuff. But I just want to say it now that I'm not an Asian supremacist. I'm just talking about my thoughts and feelings.
He's an Asian supremacist.
But yeah, dude. Now I that's actually a good question about growing up privileged. I have thought about it sometimes, and it's just like, oh, what am I complaining about for sure? But I think if we were to compare like issues, there are different tiers, but at the end of the day, it still has affected you somehow, some way, right?
Yeah, sure.
That definitely fucked up your brain. So I want to transition into what has gotten you into DJing. Like what has shifted that sense? I know you talked about you're passionate about music, but was there like a first song that was like, yeah, I can start DJing. I can start doing remixes on all these certain type of songs?
So that story is actually not to do with like my music like that in that sense. I started DJing in the very end of 2021 or 2022. I actually can't really remember at this point. But the story goes, I I was at my previous day job, and at the time I had quite a difficult to deal with boss, and she was making my life quite difficult at work, and I had had enough of it, and I wasn't DJing at the time, and I just quit, and it took me some balls to like actually quit, but I'd saved up enough money. That was like my first job out of college. I had interned there for a couple years while I was in school, and then they brought me on full time. Had a great like 1 to 2 years after that. And then this new person came in, and just was not the greatest environment. And a lot of our team quit. And once my teammates started quitting, I was like, hey, maybe this is a sign to, focus some time, full time on music. Because I was just producing at the time and putting out singles and remixes and things like that. So I saved up a decent amount of bankroll to like pay rent for the rest of my lease. And I started my lease in September, and I quit in November. So for the rest of my lease up until August, I was like, I have enough money saved up. I'm gonna try it, and we'll see how far I get. So at that point I was like full gas, just on music and production. I was making like some like YouTube tutorials, and I was making just as much music as I could, and making content and things like that, and trying to just like grow in that way. And through those like 10 months, almost a year that I went without like a full corporate job, the financial pressure really started building on me, and I was making music every day, but just producing. Anyone who produces and makes music will know it is very difficult to sustain yourself off of music in the short term. So when it comes to like getting paid out from like royalties and things like that, one, you get paid like fractions of pennies per stream. And I was selling like some sample packs and things like that, but nothing near enough to like sustain myself or like build like a sustainable business from within that time frame. So if I needed to, I had rent due every single month, and like my bank account, I had enough saved up. Like I wasn't gonna die, but I'd watch my bank account every single month just go down and down and down. I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, holy shit. This is like, what can I do like super quickly to start like supplementing my income while I'm like making music? Then I started like door dashing. I started doing all this like gig work and things like that. Had a car, luckily. So yeah, I would like DoorDash like 4, 5, 6, 10 hours a day, as much as I could basically, just to like pay my bills. If you don't have to DoorDash, never DoorDash, dude. That shit will suck you dry, bro. Like you have to pay taxes on it. You like put wear and tear on your car.
Yeah.
You deal with like shitty customers who don't tip. They don't pay you well. Whatever, all that stuff just kind of adds up. So what you're taking home is not what you're taking home, but better than nothing. So I was doing that for like 6 months, and making music, and eventually I got into like this really like unhealthy cycle of me like not wanting to make music because I was stressed about making music, and like now I was like I was financially dependent on my music, and that made making music not enjoyable. So yeah, it like fell into like a pretty deep lull of like, holy shit, like, what am I doing? Like, am I going down the right path? Like, I put all my eggs in one basket. Like, is this worth it? Am I ever gonna make it, bro? Like, like, I just need my big break, bro. Just like shit like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just got really, really stressful. And I think I often get asked like, oh, like, you love music so much, do you want to do it full time? I'm like, honestly, after that experience, maybe not. Maybe not right now, at least, because like being financially dependent on your music takes a lot of the enjoyment of music out, because you're grinding for a buck now. You're not grinding to like for the artistry of it. So anyways, out of that, I had a really old DJ controller that my friend Ollie gave me in college. And he was like, yeah, I don't need this anymore. Like, you can have it if you want. So I basically just collected dust in my room for like a couple years. And I was talking to my friend Peter. Peter's one of my best friends in the industry, and just friends in general. He's a great guy. And he's also a DJ and producer here in Boston too. He goes by Pete Summers. Shout out to you, Mr. Peter. But yeah, he's been a great just friend and support system through many years. We met in college at UMass, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
I got him into like making music, and he kind of introduced me to like DJing and things like that. And at that point, I was very much more into making like hip hop and lo-fi and like trap beats and things like that. And he was making more house and like EDM. And from there, he's like, oh, like, have you tried DJing? I was like, no, I ain't DJ. I ain't no bitch ass DJ. I'm a producer, bro. And I think I was just very like senile in that way. And I remember that night, and I was like, maybe I should look into this more. So I started looking at like, out of like all places, like Indeed, bro. I was on Indeed. I was like, DJ. And like all of a sudden there was like a listing for a private events company that I'm actually technically still contracted with. But yeah, they do like weddings and private events and things like that. And I saw that they were hiring, and I was like, oh shit, like this might actually be worth my time, just to like get some extra money in the door. So yeah, I like locked myself in my room for like a month. I still have videos on my phone, like filming myself, like teaching myself how to DJ. And like sometimes I like can like go back to those videos and like look at myself, and I'm like, what the f- are you doing? You're so bad. But it was like, oh, the worst part is like, I like do like such an average transition, and you're like, I was like, damn, bro.
When you think something is fire, and you look back, you're like, that was awful.
I love man. But everyone starts somewhere.
No, of course.
So yeah, I started DJing. Peter gave me a couple lessons on just like how to phrase match things and beat match things, and I made a few mixes, and luckily I had enough like production experience under my belt to like submit enough of like a portfolio to this company. Hopped on a call with them, and then they hired me on contract, and then started dishing out like a few like not lowball, but like lower stress gigs. So my first one was like a formal at like Wellesley College.
That you posted on your YouTube.
Oh my God. Yeah. And I was like, dude, my life is like turning around. Yes. Like things are so good. But it was I literally like threw myself in the deep end with it. And I basically like emptied out the rest of my like bank account with the equipment that I had to buy, because they didn't supply any of the equipment. It was all contract. They paid me on 1099. I had to pay taxes on it at the end of the year. But that money was better than anything that I was making with like DoorDash or whatever. So I basically just started doing private events with them. And I started ramping up like my first year. So I was doing that full time for a bit. And then, yeah, that's like where I really like learned to get my chops in with DJing, especially open format and weddings. It's a very different ball game than like doing clubs or doing stuff for like Giving Groove, where the genres are definitely more like honed in and specialized.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of like skills learned and mistakes made and experiences gained. And like, dude, they trusted me to do like people's weddings, bro. Like that first year, I remember my first wedding. Oh my God.
Dude, how much were you sweating? How
I
much
was
like
sweating so bad.
did they give you like songs that they wanted at least or no? Like a kind of genre they wanted, or they were just like, yeah, just do whatever?
Luckily, they were pretty chill. So I was playing a lot of just like top 40s and like throwbacks and things like that. But it was pretty stressful. And I like didn't have a great setup, and like I was just not good on the mic, and I had no idea what I was doing with like formalities and things like that.
And then you got drunk people coming up to you asking for song requests.
Oh yeah, can you play Bad Bunny? Can you play Bad Bunny? Every DJ out there will know what I'm talking about. Can you play Bad Bunny? Love Bad Bunny. But yeah. So that's basically how it started. Like, long story short is I needed the money. So I started DJing. And it really snowballed from there in terms of like doing private events. Then I started making my way into like local bars and stuff here around Boston, like doing open format. And then, yeah, the rest is kind of history, like opening up at these local bars, headlining local bars, just playing like the whole night or whatever, getting into different spots, playing house parties. Basically, I was taking every single gig that I could just to like get experience. And then eventually, I was able to get my first club gig, doing doors at clubs, direct support at clubs, still playing bars and stuff on the side. And yeah, that's basically it.
Dude, what a underdog like story, that financial pressure can do a lot to you. But hey man, you took every opportunity, and that's what you should do. You should take every opportunity you can. You did mention something that I'm curious about is like, when Pete was like, oh, like, you should be a DJ, and you're like, nah. Is there like a industry, like, I'm not sure, that's not beef, but like, is there like a thing between like a perspective on a producer versus a DJ that like, that kind of made you say that at that time?
I think it depends on what kind of route that you're trying to go down. Like, you can go down a lot of like the like pop mainstream sync licensing, like placement, records and plaques, streams and royalties kind of route. And then there's a whole other side of like EDM specifically, with like live shows, DJing, selling tickets, producing music, touring, things like that. If you make it big enough on the mainstream side, obviously you will tour.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of artists can break through and do really big things on the EDM side as well, especially from playing shows, getting noticed like within your own city and like building community within your own city, and then being able to play shows and network outside of your state and things like that. I think at the time when I was just making music, again, I wasn't really making house music at all or EDM music really, but I always loved EDM. I love that sound and I was always listening to it, but I was just like at the time more focused on hip hop, because I also love hip hop clearly, which is why I was dancing.
Yeah. If you guys didn't know, Brendan was a dancer also on the same crew of, at his time it was UMass HHCO, but now it's called UMass Altitude, and the performance team, Five Dirty Crew, which the name has stayed the same. But when I was a freshman, Brendan was there on the crew, and that's how we initially met.
Don't dig too hard on the YouTube channel now. Don't dig too hard.
I think you have your own choreo on that page, right?
Nah, I never led choreo, bro.
Really?
Hell no. Pardon
but
me, I'm sick. But hell no, hell no, hell no. I could never. I think I always tell people like I was good enough to blend in, but never good enough to like stand out. You know what I mean? Like good enough to like be someone on the stage and just like not like stick out like a sore thumb, but like never had enough swag to like just break
Bro,
it down.
you got all the swag. Come on.
No, I can't move my body like that. You know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
some dancers just have it.
Yeah.
Like something about them, like you can have two people doing the same choreo and just one person will look more swaggy.
Yeah.
Or like they'll have more drip to them
Yeah.
or whatever. Like just the way that they move or the way that they hit things. It's just like, and like you can't teach that. I feel like you really can't teach that.
No, for
It's just
sure.
like a experience thing and like a confidence thing, I think, as well.
Yeah.
And I think I just never kind of broke through that threshold of like confidence and skill and experience.
Did you dance with a hat?
I think so, maybe a few times.
Okay. Because that's what gives me confidence.
Dude, yo, some people like, yeah, like do choreo and like windbreaker and like sweats and like all this like a full suit of like clothing.
Yeah.
And I think I just like run really hot in general. I was like, ain't no way I'm wearing that, bro. It's like I'm about to pass out. Like
From
just like standing still, like I'm just sweating,
Yeah.
like crazy. How do you dance with that? I don't know. It just wasn't for me.
But like going back to obviously like DJing, you loved hip hop, and I'm curious like what drove you to house? Was it because of Pete?
Honestly, Peter was a big influence into like house music. Every time we would like make music together, he was always making music at like 120, 130 BPM. I was always making music at like 85, 70, just like the lower like hip hop tempos.
Yeah. For people who don't understand like music, like BPM. Like,
BPM is beats per minute.
okay.
It just like determines like the speed of a song.
Yeah.
So like typical like house music, is like anywhere from like 120 to like 135, 130, something like that. And there are like there are EDM genres that range the entire BPM spectrum.
Yeah.
But not all hip hop. Most hip hop lies in the lower BPMs, and then most EDM lies in like the higher BPM range. So a lot of a lot of trap is done at like 70 or like halftime at 140 or double time at 140. And then a lot of like boom bap stuff is like 80, 85. A lot of R&B can be around, 90, even like 100. And then that 100 to like 120, you get into a lot of like the like really slow house and also like moombahton and dance hall and reggaeton, Latin music, things like that. So each range kind of accumulates or attracts different genres of music that fit well within that speed.
Yeah. Is there, because I don't know if this is true or not, but like there was a movie where Zac Efron played the DJ. I don't know if you remember that movie.
I don't think I've ever watched it, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. But is there actually a science with DJing? Like how like you start off on a certain BPM to get the like crowd on the floor and then like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say like a lot of it is, and one thing that you can't teach with DJing is like reading a room.
Yeah.
You just have to like gain that by experience and just like social knowledge. And then your ability to like react to that accordingly. So I would say like if you're a really big artist, you don't really have to worry about that because people come to see you play your songs and your music, and you have a very defined style of music. But when you're just starting out and you're doing like client work, right? You're playing for people's weddings or private events or even just like at a bar or whatever, you always want to like cater to your audience. So some DJs will, stick more to their guns in terms of like their styles and the types of music that they play, which is totally cool. And they typically attract gigs that are more aligned with their style anyways. And that's kind of the way that you want to grow into, I think. So right now I play less shows, but I play more shows that I'm aligned to stylistically versus before I was playing anything. Yeah. So kind of lost track of the question. What was it?
It was more of like, even I forgot my own question. I was just so in tune with your knowledge of it, but it was the science and the science between like DJing and all that stuff.
Yeah, so all of it, it's about like energy and like moving energy around during the night. So if you like open, you don't want to play like crazy bangers. You want to like keep it fun and alive. And if you've been ripping house music all night at like 125 to 130 and you see that every song that you play is, not resonating with the crowd very well, then maybe it's your sign to like change things up or play into a different BPM or a different genre, or try and just give them a break from house music or whatever. That's usually the situation I find myself in, and I try to break things up within my set is to sprinkle a little bit of something else into it outside of house music.
Yeah.
To give people a break and also just to like freshen things up. So instead of just like slamming people with like house all night, they have something to kind of reset themselves to before you build back into that like higher energy level. So regardless if you're playing house music or, hip hop all night or R&B or whatever, every DJ will know that like the night is all about bringing the energy up and down and back up and down and back up and down and back up and down. Unless you're the headliner, you can keep it all night. Yeah. But in general, like if you're playing all night, at a local spot or whatever, you just want to control the flow of energy because people will come in and out of your dance floor all night.
Right.
You want to keep people in there as long as possible, but just in general, like there's a crazy like psychology to your dance floor as well that you want to positively impact as much as possible. Mm-hmm. There are things that are outside of your control, obviously sometimes, but yeah, you just want to like play music, right? And then you see how the crowd reacts. If they like it, play more of it. Mm-hmm. If they don't like it, try something else. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
And you just like have fun with it, man. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big believer of like if you put out good energy as the DJ, the crowd will reciprocate that energy more. Mm-hmm. It's easier for the crowd to have fun with the DJ if the DJ is having fun, right? Yeah, versus like some DJ who just doesn't move at all.
Yeah. Dude, you're moving. When I saw you at the tap room, like you were moving.
Yeah.
Sweating.
Yeah. I would say like a lot of that is like natural, but a lot of it too is like I wouldn't say it's like for show, but it is like because I believe like what you put out is what you get back. Bro, I'm putting all of it out. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And if I don't get all of it back, then that's fine. But at least I know that I put all of my energy into this set.
Yeah.
And yeah, bro, like who likes to watch a DJ just like not do anything? It's like, bro, just like have some fun with it.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Like you're getting paid to like play music at the end of the day. Like it's a pretty dope gig. Like just have some fun.
For sure. When you were like doing all those gigs a lot, how did your parents react to obviously you quitting your job and like pursuing that full time?
Honestly, they were fine with it.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, you'll figure it out. I think my mom trusts me a little bit too much sometimes.
But hey, it's made you the person that you are today.
Yeah. Not that they like, just let me do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I was just doing private events for like a couple months at first, and yeah, they were paying okay. But after a couple months of that, I got I got a full-time job again. So yeah, that helped a lot.
Yeah, no,
And that's
for
the same
sure.
job that I'm in
Gotcha.
right now.
Are you marketing manager now? Sorry, I stalked your
No,
LinkedIn.
no, no, you're good. Yeah, I'm a marketing manager. And why I asked about accounts payable is
Yeah.
that we sell accounts payable automation software. So we
Oh.
sell to accountants. So I run like ad campaigns targeted towards accountants.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, that's above my
You're
pay grade.
good.
I can't make those decisions. With obviously having that full time job and DJing, how's it been just balancing that, man? I feel like being a creator while also doing another full job that takes up most of your day can be pretty difficult.
Yeah, it is pretty difficult. But it's not terrible. I think there's a lot of reward that comes with it. And right now, having had the experience of not having stable income and doing music, I don't really want to go back to that right now. Maybe a future date, I would be willing to kind of take that leap again now with DJing under my belt. But I think all things considered, I have a really good gig at work. I have a great boss. She treats me really well, and yeah, she respects me, and I respect her, and she like lets me do my thing, and she's super supportive. So yeah, I think having a good boss changes your relationship with your day job a lot.
For sure.
And I get to work from home every day for the most part, which is awesome. So yeah, that with like all of my music stuff at night it gets to be a lot sometimes, but is also very rewarding as well, to prepare for these gigs. And again, like diamonds are made under pressure kind of thing. So now I have finite time within the week. But for some reason, still being able to like do all these things and play gigs and be really happy with how the gigs come out, and just be really stoked with the people that I meet and get to interact with and network with, and just being a part of the dance community here, or the electronic dance community here in Boston, has been really cool.
That shit's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's grown a lot. And like, it's crazy because I think I'm kind of like an old head now in the scene.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in the scene for like, well, it feels like that. There's obviously people who
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah, yeah.
older than me and who have been in the scene for much longer. And I don't want to step on anyone's toes. But it's just crazy. Like every year you see new guys coming up. Every year you're always meeting new, younger, fresh DJs straight out of college, or, straight out of their mom's basement, literally, like coming out to play shows and stuff. And it's cool. Like there's a lot of competition, but at the same time, like I was in their shoes a couple years ago, right? And I had, one guy take a chance on me, and that's led into so many different opportunities. So now, even when I headline different places, like I have opportunities to like bring other people up with me. So a lot of people who like come to like my Giving Groove stuff, like people who fuck with me, I fuck with you, So a lot of like networking and respect and just like building your community comes down to like, one, just like be nice to people, right?
For sure.
Two is like show support for your friends and the music and the events that you love, and do not expect to get anything out of it, because I can tell when people are trying to get something out of me, and I could always tell if I was being that guy trying to get something out of someone else. So just like show up for the love of showing up, bro, and just like say hey and like show face and like shake hands and just like be kind, and follow people on Instagram, and you know, shoot them a DM after, hey, nice to meet you. Like, you know, love what you're doing. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Like, how hard is that? And then next time, you know, maybe they play a gig or whatever, you know, maybe they'll be like, oh, like that Brendan kid was actually kind of dope. Like maybe he can play support for me for my next gig, that kind of thing, right? So that's really how it happens. And now there are new guys who I'm like, oh, like this kid showed up to one of my events that I played. You know, I would love to have him on for one of the shows that I'm playing in the future. And that's how you bring new guys up too, and give them the same opportunity that you had with other people who are older and more experienced in the scene.
Right.
So it's all like you build me up, I build you up.
Yeah.
You respect me, I respect you. You have fun, I have fun.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing.
For sure.
So yeah, it's all good.
That's how like that's how networking literally is. It's just like one person taking a chance on you and seeing how that all falls.
Yeah.
But that's cool. That's such a dope like kind of community and sense of like,
man.
oh, like, you know, if, you know, thanks for coming to support me, like, you know, like your stuff, like maybe come around. Like I feel like that's just how you get your opportunities, and you just gotta put yourself out there. If you keep just keeping to yourself, gatekeeping stuff, then like, I mean, even just hearing that, like nobody who would want to work with someone that just like, you know, keeps the secrets, even if they are successful in that sense, you know?
Yeah. So much of it is just like showing face. Like you want to play this spot, you better show up and like be there.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so many guys who like come to the same, we're like, oh, I want to play this spot. I want to play this spot. Never step foot in your spot, or never come to one of your events or whatever. It's like, why would I give you the shot to play one of my events, or, you know, connect you with somebody that I'm really close to who runs bookings here or whatever, if you've never showed up ever, or like I've never seen you here, or like, you know what I mean? Just the audacity of some people. But
for sure.
It's all good.
Yeah. I mean, you're always gonna have some people that just want to take and, you know, never give, and that just goes nowhere.
Yeah. I do respect it though. Like, you know, shoot your shot.
Yeah.
I do respect that. But
like the result that you were talking about is most likely what will happen versus you know, trying to shoot your shot into literally into a wall at that point. Thing I want to also get to know about you is Giving Groove. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about the reason why you built this brand and what's the mission. What are you trying to do with Giving Groove?
Good question. I think, in all honesty, this year I'm a little bit lost in terms of what I want to do with it. And last year was an absolute grind. And Giving Groove kind of started because I had this like vision to do something different that people weren't doing in Boston. I was like, what can I do to stand out as a DJ here in Boston? Because I had made my rounds to like play a lot of the spots that other DJs play. I was like, damn, am I just going to be another DJ that rinses the same 10, 15 spots? And there's absolutely no shade. There are so many talented guys that have incredible residencies here in Boston, and that's what they want to do, and that's cool. What fits for somebody else may not fit for someone else, and comparing yourself to someone else is never a good thing, right? So let me just level set and say that. But I think for me, it was like, I just wanted to do something different. And like, I was like, damn, am I really going to like play the same spots over and over again until I'm like old and wrinkly? And I think a lot of it also was like, I want to like improve my artistry and like my brand as like the Breadman brand or whatever, more than just like playing local spots. So it kind of all like snowballed. I was like, I just want to film my DJ sets for like content and post them and kind of see where it takes me.
Yeah.
So the first one, I had like a really old DSLR, which was actually the DSLR that my mom bought me when I got into photography back in high school.
Full circle moment here.
Yeah. really bad camera quality, like 1080p, but it was not 1080p, some camera, like some GoPros say they're 4K, but it ain't 4K, bro.
No.
That ain't looking like 4K. It was the same thing, but it was really old, Canon 50D or like 60D or something like that. But yeah, it was just like, there's a really old video on YouTube by these really talented guys. They're like lo-fi hip-hop artists called Funk Mammoth. And there's like a old YouTube channel that used to run some of their stuff. And I saw this when I was like a teen, I think, called Alpha Moso Demon. Real ones will know about Alpha Moso Demon. But they did like visualizers, I think, and like featured a bunch of like lo-fi hip-hop artists. And they did a set where they were making shrimp linguine while his friend was just DJing in the kitchen, and he was just making dinner. And I was like, oh, that's such a cool like low lift idea, and that might be something fun to do. So I called Peter and I was like, yo, Peter, you want to like make dinner? And like Peter had just started getting into like cooking, like cooking a lot and like cooking different stuff.
And this dude does everything.
Yeah. So that was kind of like his side quest. It was like, oh, perfect. Like I just got this like pizza stone. Do you want to make pizza? I was like, sure. It's like, you want to like DJ while we make pizza? He was like, sure. So we just did that. And that was the first episode. It got a lot of good traction on Instagram when we first posted it. I was like, shit, we got to keep doing this. So the next one I did was with the homie Brian, or BTB. And both BTB and Peter ran this event at the Grand called Funkhouse Night. So a lot of like K-Tronada inspired music and like kind of like throwbacks, R&B mixed with house music. So slower but more like groovy and kind of like deep funk, kind of like head bobbing vibes. So yeah, I had him on for the second episode, and then we made tacos.
Yeah, I know that.
That was really dope. Also filmed that with the same camera in the same spot. And then the third one was where everything kind of started taking off, which was the episode that I did in Greenhouse Cafe in Mission Hill. And they were a relatively new place. And I was like, oh, it'd be great to do another episode in here. Like if the guy would just let me film, and like, I feel like it's a pretty low ask, and ended up like talking to him and DMing him and going back and forth with him for like months. And yeah, he finally took a chance on me, and it actually became really, really stressful planning it because, one, it was the first event that I've ever promoted or planned for. It was the first episode that I got the new ZV-E10 for. And I was like buying all this like crazy equipment because I was like, dude, I only have one shot at this. Like I want this to look like really sick, and I want the lighting to be good, and I want to make sure like everything's set in place. And there's just like a million factors that go into like planning an event that people don't think twice about. So things is like, oh, like the placement of the camera and where the decks are. Is the deck too big for the table that they have? Is the table too low? Do I need something to raise the table? How are we going to play audio out into the crowd? And I was talking to him before, and he's like, we don't have a live events license yet because we're so new. So you can't bring your own speaker. You have to play through the speakers in our system. So then that led to me looking into their system and being like, shit, how do I connect like a 100 foot or 50 foot XLR cable all the way to the back? How do I snake that all the way to the back? How do I make it look clean? How do I not destroy their stuff? How do I, actually hook up the audio? And there was a really complicated like conversion, like audio conversion that I had to do from XLR back into RCA, whatever. It was and I had to like call a bunch of people to like get the right DI box to whatever. So there's just like a million things that I had to handle. And then I had to play on top of that. And
Jesus.
yeah, it turned out really well. And it's probably, it is like my favorite video that I've made to date. Not because it has the most views, but because I think it was the most rewarding in terms of like how much work I put into it. And yeah, big shout out to Finn at Greenhouse Cafe for taking the chance on me there. And yeah, it was really cool to just like feature his space too, and like his cafe is family owned. They're a Viet family.
Oh, nice.
And just a really nice guy and really nice family. And yeah, after the event, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like that was awesome! Like we've never had that many people at our place like on a Sunday. Like, can you do it again?"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, now you want me to do it?"
After months of like, yeah.
But yeah, it was cool, and it was very rewarding, and everything kind of just snowballed from there in terms of planning more events and different ideas and just doing things like outside the box and like pushing the boundaries of like where I can film
Yeah.
and like DJ.
Yeah. In a car.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. I still have the mount in my car. I think the appeal of Giving Groove is less so like me DJing itself, and also the different environments that I'm DJing in and having a live audience of some form or factor.
Yeah.
So like having other people there. And I tell people it's kind of like you know how like some of the TikTok videos have Subway Surfer on it to like keep your attention, like for brain rot.
Yeah.
It's like that. Because like people want to like look at other people or do other things, like, you know, people love to people watch.
Yeah.
So being able to do that in the video is always cool, you know?
Yeah.
Or like there's always something else to look at. So yeah, I just thought that's kind of where the idea came from. And I have a couple more episodes under my belt that I'm gonna release, but right now just a lot of planning for 2025, a lot of reaching out to different venues and trying to secure spots and dates is very difficult.
Yeah.
You get a lot of no's, you get a lot of no responses, but again, just part of the grind. And yeah, just planning and going forward and keep pushing the content.
Yeah. I mean, that's such an interesting take on DJing, especially like, it's just something I've never really seen before. I mean, when I started watching your stuff, I started to like see other people do it as well. But this is that stuff like they like have scheduled venues. Like one that comes to mind for me is like Playground Series.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And like they do it at like these like I don't know, like I don't know,
warehouse.
penthouse. Yeah. Like it's not it's cool. Don't get me wrong, but like you doing it at like a fried chicken shop and like a car, like it just brings, it's a whole like it's like disrupts like even like just someone filming their like set at a big venue and stuff like that. Yeah.
Different settings are important, but you know, like so much respect for all the other DJs who are doing something similar, and I really do believe that's kind of where DJing is headed. More niche parties, more like low-key things. Not to say that like club culture is dying, but I think people are drinking less these days. People aren't going out as much these days, and people would much rather go to like more of like an intimate event than like a large club. So just again, like it really all comes down to like, just, is it a cool spot? Can I film here?
Yeah.
And can we bring people together? Like, that's really it.
Yeah.
And if we can do those three things and just like have a good time, then all is well, bro.
For sure, man.
All is well.
It's all good vibes. It's all good vibes with you and Giving Groove. I feel like we kind of touch base on like the mindset of a DJ, and I know you talk about like the beats per minute and obviously catering to your audience. Anything else that can kind of give us a perspective of what you're thinking of when you're, doing an event? And obviously it differs, right? From like weddings to like, Sam Adams Tap Room and stuff like that. Anything else you can tell us about just like the mindset that you have to be in on a DJ? Because I can imagine your mind's going like 1,000 miles per hour.
When I'm actually DJing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think when you're DJing, you like, I'm thinking like at least like 2 to 3 songs ahead of what I'm actually playing. And also things are very like reactionary as well. So again, like you reacting to the crowd and seeing how they react to the music that you're playing is very important. So I never really go into like a set like I'm gonna play this from like top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's usually like a big like crate of like music that I think like fits the night, and music that I will pull from. And I think I am a big believer that like victory is won in preparation.
Yeah.
So a lot of my gigs, I prep, I would like to think, more than the average person, than the average DJ. And by prep, I mean, I have like everything. I'm a big like, I'm like kind of diving into the weeds here, I guess. But for DJs, there are these things called hot cues. And hot cues are different stamps like on your track that you can jump to at any point. So like on your deck, you can hit a different hot cue and it'll jump you to the different section of the song that you have marked. Cool. So in that way, I have every single song in my library without fail. They all have hot cues, and every hot cue is color coded, and every color code corresponds to a different portion of the track. So I'll mark like the chorus, I'll mark like the intro, I'll mark like vocals, I'll mark instrumentals. So basically when I roll up to actually DJ at a venue and I have like my entire playlist or like crate of songs that I want to pull from, I never like second guess anything within that song, even if I've only heard it once, because everything's color coded. So I know like when you mix, you should never mix like vocals on top of vocals, right? So if everything's color coded, there's no second guessing me knowing like, oh, this yellow part, which is always for me instrumental, like there's never going to be vocals here because I've already listened to it before. I put a hot cue there, so I know that it's always safe to layer vocals from the next song on top of this song, that kind of thing. So basically what I'm trying to say is if I can mix confidently, I can have fun, versus like me stressing out like when I'm actually mixing and stuff. And being confident and allowing myself to have more fun makes for a better set and a better performance, because I've already taken that stress away in the preparation of like going through every song and familiarizing myself with the music that I think I'm going to play that night. Of course, there are points where you have to pivot and adjust and things like that.
Of course.
But again, the gig is won in preparation, bro.
For
sure. I would say like 70% of it is preparation, and then 30% of it is your actual execution. And pivotability, I guess. So yeah, that's kind of what's going through my mind when I DJ. And then one is just like making sure the crowd is reacting well. 2 is just having fun and putting out the same energy that I want the crowd to give me. And yeah, just 3, just also like important to just like make sure everyone's like having a good time and like safe.
Yeah.
Look, every now and then you see someone like, you know, some fights break out or like people collapse or whatever. Just, yeah, shit like that. It's never happened to me, but it does happen. So just like need to keep an eye out for things like that.
For sure. Dude, I mean, I just can't imagine like being 2-3 songs and then like any new song, like you have to like listen to that and then bring it back in and oh man, it's
crazy. I mean, that's part of the job, you know?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
you listen
true,
to new music, you
yeah.
just stay up to date with stuff. And again, I think like the further you go within your career, the more like niche and specialized you can get within your sound. So yeah, like now I dive like very heavily into the genres that I'm very interested in. But starting what we call like open format, like playing anything, is a huge skill to have, over like somebody who, you know, doesn't play any other genre besides like house or trap music or whatever.
Right.
It makes you more versatile than the other guy.
Yeah,
I would say.
for sure.
But each have their pros and cons.
Any advice for young DJs out there that are just starting? Because I feel like I know a couple people that are like, oh yeah, like I just started DJing. Any advice to them on like to guide them maybe on a something that you wish someone told you in your younger times of DJing?
I'd say like get a lot of practice in, as much as you can in the bedroom before you DJ out anywhere else. All you need is like, dude, the barrier to entry to DJ these days is so low. Everyone and their mom's DJ, which is fine.
Yeah.
Like the world needs more DJs. The world needs more music. But being able to like read a room and play a room is very different from being able to DJ, right? So I think in terms of like, depending on what your goal is DJing, one, you want to get your chops down. You want to know how to beat match, phrase match, download the music that you want to be playing, you know, and just like have adequate equipment. And then from there, it really comes down to, again, just like networking, just like going out to the spots that you want to play, right? Or just meeting people that you want to learn from or DJ with. And just like making those connections, and those connections go a far way.
Yeah.
Both online and in person. So I think that's kind of like my biggest advice is just such a cop out, but just like be kind to other people and just like be genuine and just like show face. And that will get you pretty damn far. You got to be a good DJ too. But there's some bad DJs out there, bro. There's some bad DJs out there.
I'm not denying it either.
Just like how there are some bad dancers out there.
Yep.
There's some bad DJs out there, bro.
For sure.
So yeah, I think like it's important to be brilliant at the basics always. Like have your foundation set strong. Phrase match, beat match, biggest things. You can mix and key as well. But if you can't phrase match, if you can't beat match, you should not be a DJ. Hands down. Guaranteed. A lot of it also just comes down to like song selection as well. I would say if you're shit at mixing, but you play the right songs, you can still have a decent party, bro. For sure. Like playing the right music is the most important. Mixing is secondary, but mixing, not to say that it's not important, but dude, playing the right music is the most important thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. I don't know if that's really advice.
No. It's definitely good advice, especially because like when I was watching one of your videos and like something you learned about, like, you know, you were trying to play your house, but nobody was really dancing. And you just like, I just gotta play stuff that people will sing along to, right? That's the finding the right music part. But then your strengths of mixing like developed. Like I know you were mixing something at the tap room. I was like, oh shit, like that was dope. How about any advice to like young creatives? So like this is more in a general sense. Like someone's there like trying to tap into their creativity, or like, oh, I don't know if I should, you know, do whatever creativity it is, like any advice to them to pursue their passion?
Well, let me ask you this. What advice did you get that helped you?
So because of the depression I went through in 2019 to 2020. So I literally got depression right before the pandemic. And
Ooh,
then
that's a tough.
And then
Right before.
Some significance happened where it was just all about like how I was thinking about myself, because of some stuff I did. And for me as a person, like I ruminate a lot, so I hold on to shit. Like I just can't let it go. And I just was not in a good place mentally. I hated myself. I hated the person that I saw in the mirror. And because of that, for me, I'm a very holistic person. So like whatever I want to set my mind to, like I really want to work on it actively and not, do anything passively. So going through depression, I was like going through therapy, asking for homework after to figure out what to do next and to keep working on it. And I feel like that was a major success and why I was exponentially getting better. But after I went through that experience, I kind of felt like, especially being an Asian male, it's not talked about a lot about how we can express our feelings. And for me, that's where the passion came from, like getting mental health more out there, because it's going in the right direction, I think. But it could definitely be better, and having this whole stigma around therapy. So for me, it's not what someone said to me, it's what happened. And the thing that happened, sorry, that was a lot of context there. But the thing that happened was that I was working a job straight out of college, and I was stressed a lot. I was like working 60, 70 hours for like 3 months out of the year. And I just had no energy to do something creatively. And with dance, like I love dancing and I love performing, and that was like my creative, but I didn't do that always. And I don't really have necessarily as much of an urge to do it unless I'm performing. So, after I went through therapy, I launched Highest Version to kind of put the message out there and make an impact. And then going after the job and realizing like there's more to life than just the job that I'm working. I revamped it because I still felt I had shit to say and had more to express. And I felt like I had more work to positively impact someone that was going through their own mental health struggles, especially as an Asian male. And I think it has brought into even first gens and how they what stuff they have to deal with going through life. And I felt like that's where the passion stuck, because one, it's helping me be creative, being a content creator, obviously how you're delivering your message, that I wanted to make the world better than when I came in. So that is like kind of my ideal sense of the passion I'm sticking into, and just making a positive impact and letting people know that their mental health is just as important as much as their physical health, and getting healthier and mentally wise. Like one of my guests said before, it actually really is so much. I feel like so much harder than increasing on physical strength.
Yeah.
So that's what has pushed me towards passion in that sense.
Yeah, I feel like mental health is very overlooked, especially one with males, but two with Asian males, I think, or just people of minorities. Yeah, I think there is a lot of stigma around that. And I'll be honest, I think sometimes I don't really know what to do about my mental health. At this point, I don't go to therapy. I don't think I've also been, I think I'm lucky enough to have not like gone through like crazy depression or gotten like serious bouts of like depression or anxiety. So I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I think it's important, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I think even on this, like you said, like the severity, right? You haven't had a situation where you had to, like, you know, with anxiety and depression, but still, like, the things that you go through from a mental standpoint, right? So the bounce, the burnout, like, that's even affecting our own mental health, right? And how we can be better to ourselves. Because, yeah, man, I mean, offline, you've mentioned to me about how you don't want your happiness to be based on, like, accomplishments and stuff like that, how your self-worth, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's, as Asian Americans, first gens, like, that's what we think about. Our self-worth is based off how much we have accomplished. And that's why failures are so hard. That's why we are so hard on ourselves, because in a sense, in order for us to be worth it, our own self-worth to be at a good point, it's just for us to prove to our parents that, hey, like, I am successful and I am doing something that is giving me a good life.
Yeah, I think for me, it's not so much like proving it to my parents. I think a lot of it is like proving it to myself and feeling like I'm a failure if I don't keep growing. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm not pushing the envelope every year, it's like, what the am I doing?
Yeah.
It's like, who are you? And I feel like I've kind of instilled that in me from, like, a young age. I don't even know why. Like, I never really had, like, that pressure, but I think I just put that pressure on myself to, like, be better always. And I think right now, I mean, I've told some of my friends this too. I think in these very first few weeks of 2025, I feel very lost in terms of, like, what I want to do, what direction I want to, like, take my career in, just, like, everything. And I don't feel, like, depressed, but I do feel like kind of it, like, weighs on me in terms of, like, what is my worth and, like, what is my direction, and, like, bro, what am I doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, like, I think more often than not, it's like the days are washing over me versus, like, me washing over the days, you know? Like, like, me doing XYZ today is getting me closer to my goal. It's like, oh, I'm just doing what I'm used to doing on my day to day. And then before you know it, oh, another week has passed. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So I think that's been tough for me. These past couple weeks specifically, I think a lot of it has to do with, like, not being exactly sure where to take, like, Giving Groove. And I think my mind is so occupied by that all the time. Just, like, having this uncertainty makes me uncertain about myself. And again, like, linking my self-worth to, like, my accomplishments and accolades and things like that is kind of unhealthy. And I do recognize that. And it's kind of hard to peel yourself away from those things too. But
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely resonate with that. I feel like there's a lot of times, especially in that time before revamping Highest Version, I was just lost. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, is this the career path that I want to take? You know, do I want to do full-time, like, content creation? And even now, like, I know I kind of have a basis for what Highest Version is. Not only is it a podcast space, but it's also for tools and exercises for a lot of people to be able to digest and in a sense be like, oh wow, like, I didn't realize this about myself, or I didn't realize, like, this is what I can do, right? But yeah, I think that feeling of lost hit me at one point too, and I think it's just because, like, I just didn't know what to do with life, and like, my career path was my self-worth, but because I changed jobs and changed that whole, like, you know, CFO track, I was like, well, what am I doing? Where am I going with all this? And I think just for me, just, like, believing in myself that, like, I'll figure it out. Like, as long as I keep trying and trying and trying different things, like, oh, maybe this is where I want Highest Version to go. But then I do it, and then it's just like, maybe
Yep.
that's not the certain direction that I want to
Yep.
go, and then like pivoting as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like something I learned in 2024, and a lot of my guests have spoken to me, is just like trial and error.
Oh,
That
yeah.
you know your answer the most by trying everything and anything, and then once you kind of
Yep.
figure out what, I wouldn't say what worked, but what aligns with your values the most, because those things that align with the values the most is what you're gonna naturally going to do.
Yeah.
And obviously that kind of resonates into your brand and your business.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. I feel like it's hard to see, even like probably from your own perspective, like doing this podcast, but what it is today versus what it was, you know, a couple months ago versus when you first started it. It's night and day, bro.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with like, you know, everything that I'm doing as well. It's hard to see the progress sometimes. And I think a lot of times we're like, oh, I'll start when I have all the pieces in place, and then you just never start it, that kind of thing. So yeah, I'm glad you're putting the pieces together, and I'm happy to be part of the journey.
Yeah.
You might look back at this episode and be like, oh my God, I can't believe like I used to do episodes like this, you know, XYZ.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the lighting was so bad, or like whatever. Like, oh, I can't believe I used blue microphones. You know?
Yeah.
But it's all part of the process, bro.
Yeah. It's all part of just figuring it out. And no,
Yeah,
you're right.
figure it
Like, you can plan as much as you want, but unless you start doing shit, you're not gonna know the result of the thing that you even were initially going to plan out.
Yeah, exactly.
That's some true shit right there.
Yes, sir.
All right. Song association. So how this game works is I give you a word and you have to think of a song title or song lyric. I prefer it to be sing, but you don't have to. Obviously, I know you're sick, so we can just talk it out, and then you would do the vice versa if it's the same.
All right.
So for me, and this is off the dome, I don't have this planned, by the way.
Okay.
The word that I have for you is light or lights.
All of the lights,
Nice.
all of the lights.
Nice. That's some good shit right there. The old Kanye.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. Good job. That was probably the quickest response we ever gotten.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh, hell yeah.
All right, go ahead. Now you give me a word. If I give you some difficult
All
ass
right. All right. How difficult should this be?
something that I can at least get within within 30 seconds.
All right. Swag.
Hop up out the bed, turn my swag on.
That was an easy one.
And I'm swag, and I'm surf, and I'm swag, and I'm surf.
I love that song.
I always think about that. Every time I do that, it's like, I cannot be like swag. Oh, I'm glad I can test your music knowledge on there. But thank you for playing with that. I just feel like it's just a fun one, especially with being someone that really likes music and seeing what genres people naturally navigate to. So that's why I usually do that. Before another question before we get to the three questions is, what's the end goal, man? Are you trying to be at, DJ, like not DJ, but performing at like Coachella or like any of those big festivals?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. If somebody hit me up from Coachella today and was like, "Yo, you want to play?" I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah, I know.
But I think this is a cop-out answer, but it's kind of I think it's important to like enjoy the journey and the process of it all, even though right now I feel like I'm kind of in a lull. Again, and like we talked offline about this too, but just like choosing to be positive about things every day makes a big difference in your life on aggregate, I think. And I'm a strong believer in that. And like, even when things aren't going super well, even when you feel a little bit directionless, even when, you're physically ill, just having a good positive outlook on things makes all the difference in your life over an extended period of time. And I think positive people attract positive people. Positive thinking attracts positive thinking and positive outcomes. Not that like you can't have a shitty day, you know what I mean? Like everyone's got a shitty day, but just like, just meet people that just like be hella negative all the time. Like, I'm like, bro, like why you stop, bro. Like be happy for, I don't know. Just I think, yeah, just like always view the glass half full as often as you can, and like just giving yourself like good affirmations during the day, and celebrating the small wins that you do get is awesome. And yeah, just like staying like super appreciative for your highest moments are really good too, just to like stay grounded. And yeah, again, I lost the track of your question. What was your question?
I think even I forgot. Oh, what was the end goal?
Oh, the end goal?
Yeah.
End goal would be to like touring would be really cool, or like just bringing my party to like other places outside of Boston, like growing that brand to be bigger. But yeah, I really don't know. I think I'm just kind of figuring things out right now, trying to keep the ball rolling. And I think everything is where it's supposed to be right now, even if I'm not completely sure. So yeah, if I get to tour, that'd be sweet. If I get to travel, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. Well,
We'll see.
I'm hopeful that I can obviously provide support in your journey
Thanks, bro. Appreciate
to
it.
see like, how much, where it takes you. And I feel like you're gonna look back at this episode and be like, wow, like I didn't know where I was, and look here I am. So we're gonna see how that goes in this year.
I hope so.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank you so much. Like I just haven't seen you for so long, especially,
yeah.
and
It's
getting
been
to
a
hear
while.
about your story and where life has taken you, and
Yeah.
getting into the mind of how your brain operates, not only from a DJ standpoint, but from even like just an individual person standpoint, has been really inspiring for me. You sparked a lot of curiosity in myself, and that's why I was firing so many questions at you, because of how much I wanted to know about your mindset and being a creative and navigating a balance between being a creative and life. So I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for coming on, and
Dude, thank you for
man.
your time, and thanks for answering my questions too, bro. I appreciate it.
All right, man, let's get into the big three questions. These are questions that I feel could leave an impact on our viewers before the episode ends. So the first one is, if you could sit down with your younger self, what is advice or any words that you would say to a young Brendan?
To young me? Oh, man. I think good advice is to just start. I think there are so many things that I wanted to do, and I just wasn't sure what to do or where to go. But now, like you said, like not everything is going to be perfect. You never want to be the I'm gonna guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, dude, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Or like take steps to actually do it, bring it to life. Or like, I don't know if you do this at work, but like we have these things called like SMART goals.
Yeah.
Which I know is like kind of bullshit, but at the same time, it's kind
It
of
works.
valid,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah.
It's like you want to break down your goals into like small actionable steps so that you can achieve them and quantify them. That's important. Just like taking steps to do things every day will help you learn. And if it takes you down the wrong path, then at least you know that's the wrong path, and then you can go do something else. You know what I mean? So yeah, biggest advice is just start in whatever capacity that is. Whatever creative passion or journey or thing that you're interested in. If it interests you, dive more into it. Just start, and like at the end of the day, like do the things that make you happy and like get you jazzed, you know?
Yeah.
Like you don't want to be doing shit that like
Hate.
you hate all day.
Yeah. It's gonna drain you and your energy and all, and
exactly. Yeah. So just like find out what you like, do it, take steps to do it more, and just enjoy the process. So
for sure. My second question for you is, what does becoming the highest version of yourself mean to you, and how are you doing that today?
the highest version of myself, I think being the highest version is pushing yourself as hard as you can, but also showing yourself grace whenever you need it. And again, I think like a lot of like my self-worth is built upon the things that I've achieved. As much as I don't want to say that, I think it's true. And I think it's true for many people, right? You kind of associate those two. But just trying not to is a good mindset to have, and know that, you know, you are your own person, and the things that you accomplish or don't accomplish don't define who you are. So having that discernment is important. And I think in terms of like becoming my highest version, and I know we didn't really talk about this, but just like being a Christian, I think a lot of it comes down to like, you know, all like this glory goes to God, bro. Like, you know, a lot of things that I do, I'm very proud that I'm in this space to like be doing them. But yeah, just like a constant reminder that like, it's not by my own doing. A lot of it has been given to me, and I've been blessed with like a lot of these like cool opportunities. So like not taking that for granted ever is really important to me. And yeah, just like, again, just like trying to like stay grounded when good things do happen, and also like celebrating like small stuff, and like saying thank you for like things that you do achieve, which is great. But yeah, all glory to God, bro. Like I've been so blessed, and yeah, hope to just, you know, spread positivity and encourage other people like throughout the process. So yeah.
Beautifully said, man. And you know, you, whoever you are, even yourself, say this to you, that, you know, you are enough despite what you achieve or what you don't. At the end of the day, you're enough. My final question to you is, if you could connect me with someone to come on this podcast that you think would be great, who would it be and why?
My boy Peter. You could have Peter on. Who else? Do you do podcasts online at all?
Yes, I could do virtual. Yeah.
I have a friend named Will. HSIE, she. I actually haven't talked to him in a while. But Will is also a music producer, and he's a breaker as well. So he went to Northeastern, and he actually used to do like workshops and stuff. And I lived with him in LA for like a very short period of time when I won that Kenny Beats battle thing. And he lives in New York now. But he's a very like introspective person, and has also gone through a lot in life, and grew up in Massachusetts, and is Asian American, and has that experience. And yeah, is just also like a creative as well, doing his thing, and yeah, just like trying to live life. And he's a very interesting person. I think you'd have some interesting conversations with him.
Okay.
But yeah, him or Peter. Peter's a great guy.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Word. Let's make it happen. Let's
Cool.
make it happen.
Cool. Yeah.
All right, man. Thank you again for your time, and, you know, and everything you've given to this podcast. Next time I talk to you, or not next time I talk to you, but soon enough, manifesting it now. We'll see you at Coachella. Playing a set.
Yeah, that'd be crazy.
All right, guys. Well, if any parts of this episode resonated with you, please share, like, comment, subscribe, rate this podcast 5 stars. And as always, let's fall in love with the process of getting better every day, becoming the highest version of ourselves. Love y'all.